Hello, everyone. I just got back from a 2-day ayahuasca retreat in Barcelona, Spain. It was an all women's ayahuasca retreat and it was so magical. And I wanted to share a little bit of my experience with you guys. It was me and 19 other women, and I got invited by a beautiful friend named Matilda, who I've known for almost 7 years. She's a Swedish girl that lives in Barcelona, and Ben has known her for like 15 years now. So I got invited by her, and she had put together a women's circle like this before. This is, I believe, her third or fourth one that she's done with a female shaman who lives right outside of Barcelona, about an hour, in this beautiful wooded area, lots of rolling hills, and just tons of greenery in this old, beautiful home that sits inside of a hill. So we got there and we all did like a short introduction of ourselves, who we are, where we come from, and all that kind of stuff. And then that evening we did our first ayahuasca ceremony. It was Friday night, and it was just wow. It was wow in so many ways. So for the ayahuasca journey itself, it was very light, very female energy with all the females around. And it was not my typical ayahuasca ceremony that I'm used to. I'm used to a Peruvian ayahuasca, and with Icaro singing. This was a Colombian ayahuasca, and the women were singing songs and they were playing instruments. And there was some pre-recorded stuff, but most of it was like live music. And it was the shaman, and I think she had 4 assistants, and they all kind of did different things. So did that, and the energy was very light. And during the actual ceremony, I think we drank it at like 10 o'clock, and then it was over when the sun came up at 5. And both Friday and Saturday night we had full moons. I didn't really experience anything really like insightful or anything crazy or anything that I learned a ton of. But like I said, I had a really light experience my first night, and I was like, that's totally fine. I was just really enjoying the female energy and just really feeling good in my body and feeling really powerful. But when the ceremony was over, my stomach was just being super acidic, and I already have an acidic stomach to begin with, and it was just like I just had this feeling like I was just gonna blow up. It was just this really intense feeling, and then everyone was kind of like going back to their rooms, and I told one of the assistants, like, I'm feeling really sick and I really need to, I feel like I need to purge or throw up, but I haven't thrown up yet. So most people throw up during ayahuasca. So when I told her that, and I said, my stomach is really acidic, do you have any medicine for acidic stomach? Like I feel a little bit of acid reflux, but most of it, like my stomach just feels like it's on fire. So she gave me some like warm water with some apples or some baking soda, some like room temperature water with a little bit of baking soda. She's like, this should help with your acid. And I drank like half of it. I'm like, this is disgusting. And it made me actually feel like a tiny bit worse. Like I just feel like, I was gonna blow up even more. And then I was like, oh, she was so nice to me. It was a woman who was maybe like 10 years older than me, and so out of disrespect, I'm like, I feel like I'm gonna disrespect her if I don't drink the whole thing. So I drank the whole thing. Then I went to the bathroom and I made myself throw up. Stuck my finger down my throat, and as I was throwing up, I threw up what was I saw my oldest sister, who is 9.5 years older than me, and I felt like I was throwing up her cancer. She was diagnosed with breast cancer January of last year and is doing much better now, but I threw up her cancer, and I saw her age. She is 49 now, and I saw her age to 80s and 90s, so like my visualization of her was. And then I felt the energy of my grandmother, my father's mother, who lived with us when I was growing up, and she passed away when I was 6. She actually loved me more than my mother loved me, and she was a great woman. I think she was 93 or 94 when she died. Anyways, I saw her visual in my visual field as I was experiencing my sister aging, and she came into my visual field and she said, you need to tell your sister that you got rid of her cancer, and also you need to tell her that she needs to take care of herself, and you are the person who needs to get rid of this for her, because she is not strong enough to be able to get rid of herself, and you are the strong one in our family, so you are taking on the responsibility for her. So that kind of threw me for a loop. I haven't really had a good conversation or a good relationship with my sister in like a decade. I haven't had like over like a 5-minute conversation with her. I had visited her a couple times, but as far as conversation is concerned, no. Like I called her when she had cancer, and I just have, my family doesn't align with my energy, so I kind of keep them at bay and kind of keep my boundaries. And I do love them, but I keep boundaries with them. So when I got this message and this download, as they say, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I need to call my sister and tell her. So since I actually don't live out in the US anymore, I live in Sweden. I have a Swedish number. How I was going to contact her, she doesn't have social media, so I contacted my brother-in-law, and then I talked to my sister, and we had a long conversation yesterday. Anyways, in order for us to participate in the integration, which happened the following day when we all sat in a circle and talked about our experiences, we each were told to draw a picture of our experience. And then, so it can kind of be, we were given this 5-minute window of talking about our ayahuasca journey the night before, because there was 20 of us who wanted to kind of keep in a time restriction. So this is a picture that I said for my first ceremony. So that was me throwing up. That's my sister. And then one of my intentions, or two of my intentions for this ayahuasca ceremony were, I should have said this in the beginning of the video, but my 2 intentions for my ayahuasca journey was to connect to my inner healer, because I definitely feel like I was a healer in my past life. Again, it sounds very voodoo and weird, and yeah, for a normal person, maybe don't understand, but I definitely feel like I was working with plants and helping people in a very private and personal way, and just really working one-on-one with people. I do very well when I work one-on-one with people. So I wanted to connect with my inner healer, and I wanted to connect with my ancestors, or my culture, I should say, because I don't feel at all connected to my Chaldean, Middle Eastern culture. I always feel like I'm just different, and I really wanted to feel connected with them. So those were my 2 intentions. I had a necklace written in Arabic that I got as I was like 12, 13 years old, that my cousin got me. It has my name on it. I probably will share this picture. I actually have a picture with it on my Instagram. So you're supposed to bring things to the ceremony in order for you to kind of draw this energy, and my name in Arabic was one of the things that I brought because I wanted to connect with my culture. Anyways, so connecting with my culture and connecting with my inner healer. So going back to my first ceremony. So I threw up my sister's cancer, and then I got this just loving energy saying that you need to tell her all of those things, because she needs to know that you love her and you still care about her, and you're doing this to help her move forward in her life. And then what I saw after that was all my ancestors. So I saw this like wall of and then me, where I am right now, and behind this wall sat like what seemed like thousands of women. And who these women were women from both sides of my mom and dad's family. And they were the women who have passed on, who have died from generations back. And these women were telling me that unfortunately in our culture, we're not able to express our full emotions and embrace who we are. But now that we're passed on, now we can experience what really being vulnerable is, and showing our most authentic selves. But unfortunately we had to die in order to experience that. But we see that you are doing that in the living sense, and we are so proud of you, and we are so proud that you're breaking these cultural boundaries and these walls, and you are creating your own path. And unfortunately there's not very many people like you, so you're going to be having to walk this path alone. So it was just this enlightenment that I needed and I wanted. Sure, it's validation, but yeah, it also made me feel connected to my culture in a very different way. So going back to my picture. So these were my ancestral women that I had on both sides of my family. And then a continuation of love because they love me, which I now feel their energy. I also, this is the circle I created because the circle is a representation of the things that I learned. So half of it has to do with my family healing, with my sister and my ancestors. And there's a line in the line that says vulnerability. So in order to heal through my ancestral line and to connect with my sister, I come from a very vulnerable place. And I feel like vulnerability is one of my strengths. And then I also learned that I saw these three pillars, and in these pillars was the three necessary things that we need to survive. There was water, their food, and next to all that was authentic connections. And in order for us to survive, we need authentic connections, water, and food. Those three go hand in hand. And until we find our authentic connections, then we can never be ourselves, because unfortunately, sometimes we surround ourselves with people who do not allow us to be our authentic selves. That turns us into people who are bitter and angry and all kinds of things. So having authentic connections, having authentic relationships is extremely important in life. And this was kind of my first ceremony. So my second ceremony was also rather interesting. So I'm gonna share parts because I want to keep some parts to myself. I had a vision of this elderly woman in a village who had a line of people waiting to work with her. It was just like one woman, and she was just like in this older kind of hut, and there was like hundreds of people just lined up to work with her, and these people looked really disheveled and sad and depressed. And this woman was like just taking one person at a time and working with them. And this woman told me, I was this person, like I was in a past life this woman, and she also lived this life that I lived, where she had gone through a lot of things in her life, and she was very courageous, just like me, and she broke free of her relationship with her family. And so she followed the path that I have and in my life, and she also said to me that I am strong enough now to help people, to liberate them from their suffering, but it's taken me all this in my life in order to help them to get to where they need to be. So it kind of gave me it did give me, again, sure, it's validation, but I needed it in order to allow me to step into my full strength. And I then had a milder experience, and then feeling like I was gonna throw up, put my finger down my throat, didn't throw up. My stomach was like having this conversation again with my stomach. My stomach was like, I'm not ready to throw up yet, and you need to go back and lay down. So lay back down, and then I would say like 10 minutes later, I really felt like I was gonna throw up, and I'm talking to my stomach. I know it sounds crazy. I'm talking to my stomach. I'm like, are you sure you want to throw up right now? My stomach's like, yes, but it's gonna take several times of you. Like, this is really deep. You're really gonna have to force some shit out. So finally was able to, after like 3 or 4 attempts, finally was able to vomit. And when I vomited, it was actually a trauma from not the girl next to me, but the girl like 2 people over from me. And it's someone who I'm friends with, or I had just met, I should say. Now I'm friends with her. But when I talked to her about my sexual trauma, she also said she had sexual trauma, but really was not able to open up to me about it, or any of the group. So when I threw it up, I saw these men, and I was like, okay. And the message was, I really need to talk to her about this experience and just see what she says to me. So I talked to her about it, and this is a woman who also struggles with a lot of insecurities. She's beyond gorgeous, like Barbie doll, sick, like just gorgeous woman. And just insecure and just has kind of a hard kind of persona. So one of the things that I learned in this ceremony too is instead of just saying what happened to the person, we classify them as a bitch or an asshole or whatever their outward aura or their energy is, instead of saying what happened to them to make them turn into that kind of person. So this was a knowledge that I got that night. But when I vomited, I vomited her sexual trauma that she had been through. And then the following day, I sat with her and talked to her about it. And we talked for about an hour, and I helped her work through a whole bunch of stuff. And she hadn't really experienced much during that ayahuasca, the second night. But I had experienced it all for her. And I came like full circle for her. And she had told me that she had been really stuck. She's an artist, and she had been really stuck recently with her art and where it was going. But when I was able to clear these different things for her, and it was several layers, and help her understand and work through them, she went from feeling very sick when our conversation first began, because she had to bring this thought up, to after we were done talking, she felt very light. And I've been communicating with her since, and she's just like, wow, my energy and my creativity is just pouring. I feel so creative right now. So to know that I actually had part in that was just beyond mind-blowing to me. So that was my 2 ceremonies. I actually will share what I learned. I learned something really important about self-love, emotional freedom, and creating a life of abundance. But I want to create a special video and condense that into a special video. So those are my experiences from my ayahuasca. I feel like and we actually also, I'll talk about 2 exercises that we did real quick. So we did an exercise where we worked with people who had an abortion, and bringing them into a circle and saying goodbye to somebody who has had an abortion in our family, or the women that have an abortion. It kind of blew my mind, because there's about 60% of more than 60, like 65, I think it was 12 out of 20 of us that have had an abortion at one point. I've never had an abortion. I've never been pregnant before. And there were several people that have had 3 to 5 abortions and now are trying to get pregnant. So it was a super emotional ceremony or exercise that we did. We went into this high part of Barcelona, or this area. It was like a little bit of a walk from where the house was. It was an absolutely amazing experience. We picked, the shaman asked us to pick something from the grounds to bring into this fire, and we put it, so people usually, or we're getting like acorns or a stick to represent the baby, the unborn baby. And after that, put it in this fire, giving it a name, and each person got to talk about where they were at the time, or maybe like, I'm too young. I was young, I didn't really know. It was such an emotional experience to see everyone do that. And then we started talking about like our moms, if our moms had an abortion or maybe even a miscarriage, and also bringing that into the circle, having a name for them, and just kind of liberating ourselves from that. Again, such a powerful experience. And then another experience I had, or another exercise we did, which is an exercise I do with my clients, is envisioning our parents, each one at a time, like our dad as a child, and then imagine him as an adult, and then imagining the time period that has happened between now and then, and imagining them that whole time and to be the person that they are now. That was also a super powerful experience. All right, well, I'm just going to wrap up with that. I didn't want this video to be more than 20 minutes long, so I'm going to save the other one for a special video that I will unload after this. And I hope you guys enjoy this. And if you have any questions or comments, just leave them below. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye.